haven't seen the Ming River like this for over half a century. I certainly think it's one of the most beautiful rivers in the world. It's very fast flowing and it's very clear. It's very much my own river. I lived on the banks of this river for the first 15 years of my life.
We are on a wonderful 24-hour steam train journey from Suzhou to Hangzhou in the company of 25 assorted food writers, wine experts and tourists, led by the indomitable Kenneth Lowe. The food on this train is amazing, especially when you consider that we're the last sitting and the chef has already served 1,200 lunches, all cooked on coal fires. But food in China is as important on a train as it is off it. And this chef is an award winner. Kenneth, who is accompanied on the trip by his wife Anne and his daughter Jenny, is well known in Britain as a writer, TV chef, restaurateur, and veteran tennis champion. Now in his 75th year, he is returning to the China of his youth to relive his memories. For a classless society, the trains have an awful lot of classes. We're travelling soft sleeper, reserved for tourists and senior cadre members. And soft and frilly it is. But for the Chinese, there is a choice of hard sleeper or hard seat. And the accent is on the hard.
For some reason, every sizable town or city has got a park called West Lake. And one of the classical way for Chinese to pass a leisurely weekend is to go boating. And the most scenic place in Hangzhou is the West Lake. It's probably the biggest West Lake of the 30, 40 West Lakes in all the various cities of China. Well, Hangzhou has been a famous place for many centuries. During the Song Dynasty, this was the capital of China. And these musicians are dressed in the Song Dynasty costume. What's impressed me most about these scenic spots in China nowadays is that many more Chinese people are coming to enjoy themselves or to see these famous places which they in the past only heard about. But because the Chinese population is getting a great deal more prosperous, especially in the last few years, they're much more mobile get more the means to go around and visit these places, which they've heard so much about.
This is probably one of the very best examples of how China's changed in the last 4 or 5 years. This was a commune, but is now called a brigade, and it produces the dragon well tea, the most prized in China. And we're here just at the right time because they're picking the very top parts out, which are the 16 different varieties of tea. This is the best. The brigade consists of over 200 families, and although each family is now a little capitalist unit, the cooperative feeling and general friendliness remains. And the drying is still done in one vast shed. The tea is dried at 80 degrees centigrade for 15 minutes, and then at 30 degrees for a further half hour. For either stage, you need asbestos hands. And although the drying room is a jolly communal place, in the new China, each dryer has their own electricity meter. The tea is sieved twice before packaging. Here we see the secret ingredient being added, a small amount of cigarette ash. The final product, China's finest cha. And of course, tea is not only drunk for refreshment, it's highly regarded for its medicinal qualities too. Despite the advent of modern hospitals and drugs, traditional medicine is still very much alive.
The Chinese regard medicine as a continuation of food. So this very traditional pharmacy sells, in a way, health food as well as ingredients which can use for healing different ailments, you see. You describe what your ailments are, and the pharmacist will indicate to you what kind of ingredients you have to combine together into a potion, which will help you.
What they do is now finding if they have some ready-made medicine for you, ready-made first, so you don't have to wait here.
But I don't mind waiting. I mean,
Okay.
this is perhaps the best place in Japan for this.
Japan?
In China, I mean, it's
At least in
the best place in the whole of China.
You go in and find all these different types of medicines, you know, roots and many dry things. A lot of dry animal parts, you know. Generally speaking, they use poison to combat poison. And that's why the reptiles and snakes and things like that feature quite a lot in Chinese medicines.
That is the rooster stomach, the chicken stomach.
Oh, chicken stomach.
Chicken stomach.
Oh, I
chicken
see.
stomach.
It's logical. No thanks.
Chicken stomach. You want it?
No thanks.
I better write it down. Yes, all right. 3 grams.
Oral use.
Oral.
Oral.
What, just like that, or in water, or what?
Usually you boil up a lot of roots and things into a large 1 or 2 pint of potion, which you drink. You take it for a considerable period of time in considerable quantities. It's not instant cures. More taking nutriments so that over a period of time it will affect you beneficially.
If that amount of liver cure, Charles, can't put us back into pure good health again, there's something wrong. Just look at it. Well, you carry half of it, I'll carry the other half.
we've come to Lake Tai to find the source of China's most famous and enduring product. These tiny caterpillars are only 2 days old, but will soon grow up to be full-size silkworms and spin their money-making cocoons. According to legend, the Empress Suzhou first discovered silk when she unwound a cocoon 5,000 years ago. Each cocoon is first washed and then unwound, producing about 1,200 meters of silk. Then 7 or 8 cocoons are combined to make one thread. This factory is the largest in Hangzhou and is probably the largest in the world. And production here continues 24 hours a day. Right, something special for you here, John.
What a treat.
Something for you, Charles.
Marvelous.
Okay.
Shall we have a look
Famous
at it?
wine men. See what you think of that.
It's
Color's
got a
already
very
slightly
strange green colour.
right?
I mean, it must be a green colour because the glass is white.
Okay.
Yes, it's pungent, but not particularly
Rice.
delicate.
It's a rice.
And rice
It's
base,
rice.
I'm sure.
Has to be rice.
It's a rice wine. Go on.
That is
What do you think?
quite delightful.
Yes, it's very nice.
It's
Great.
very smooth. The bouquet and the nose is much stronger than the taste.
Yes, there's almost no acidity,
And
which
there's
is typical of
Absolutely.
the
And there's
Chinese.
nothing residue on your palate. It goes down very nicely.
It's very clean, it's very strong, but it's also very easy to drink.
Very easy.
You don't by any chance think there's a lizard in this little bottle, do you? I wonder if there isn't a lizard in this little bottle.
I did not tell him.
Nobody told you?
No, nobody told me. And there he is, a charming little lizard.
I think it's extremely good. If that's what lizards taste like, I shall have a fried one for supper tonight. That's excellent.
Isn't that marvelous? It
Gosh,
goes down
tremendous
very
stuff.
smoothly.
Oh, yes. There's that sort of starting in my throat about now.
No, it is
It's actually very good drinking.
It's actually got taste. What is that taste? It's presumably lizard, yeah. I suppose it's lizard, yes. Oh, well, it's got a lizard taste, you see. Wine consumption in London will be dropped by about 80% when we start writing our articles.
Have you noticed the lizard taste?
Shanghai lies just 3 hours by soft class north of Hangzhou.
Can you imagine houseless in Hangzhou? I
If you remember that 1 in every 4 people in the world live in China, then of China's unbelievable population of 1.2 billion people, 1 in every 100 live in Shanghai. This vast city, with its faded 30s feel, probably has the densest population in the world, with over 6.5 million people living in the city centre. On arrival in Shanghai, foreigners head for the Bund, hoping to catch a whiff of what was the wickedest city in the world, which earned Shanghai the dubious title of the Whore of Asia. Today, nothing of its seedy past remains, except the buildings. The Peace Hotel, formerly the Cathay, is remembered as the place where Noel Coward wrote Private Lives over a single weekend. And it was, earlier still, the headquarters of the Sassoon Empire. Victor Sassoon is remembered for saying, "There is only one race greater than the Jews, and that's the Derby." He made his fortune from opium and spent it on Shanghai real estate and racehorses. Today, no fortunes are going to be made at the former racecourse, but you might pick up the odd fen. The Bund, an Anglo-Indian word for a muddy embankment, was the street of banks and the international settlement. The old British public gardens were guarded then by Sikh soldiers, and a notice proclaimed, "No dogs or Chinese." Today, the little Huangpu Park is much enjoyed by the Chinese. And in China's most cosmopolitan city, it's a fine place to have your photograph taken.
The old Shanghai was the native quarter of Shanghai, where the Europeans didn't used to come to very often because it's too native for them, not what they consider the fashionable part. But occasionally they wander into this area to mix with the indigenous population, to see how the Chinese live. We're now looking for the old Shanghai restaurant, which is quite a famous establishment in the 1920s and 30s. Sadly, it seems to have been rebuilt. It's no longer what it used to be.
That's smoked fish, that's very good.
Try the smoked fish. Yeah. I think it's a bean curd next to it. It's gone away.
Well, Maurice, now that we've demolished a considerable luncheon, what's your impression of this meal?
My impression that it's quite a problem confronted with such fine delicacies as a rare shackfish of the Yangtze and the drunken chicken and the small eels of Shanghai. It is very difficult to refrain from eating too much to be able to properly appreciate.
Eva?
Well, it's a little difficult to get used to the sequence. I mean, you can have first meat and then fish in the middle of the meal, and then you can have a sweet, and then there's more meat after that, and that's all very unusual.
These dumplings, that's savory, but then in European meals you have cheese after dessert, don't you? So that's not uncommon, really.
As well as the food, Kenneth had the pleasure of meeting one of his old tennis partners from the 30s, Harry Lee.
You remember that year when we played in the tennis championship? I had to play final against him, and I lost to him. It was 4 sets, but very close. But after that, we went to Beijing.
Yeah.
And up there,
Yeah.
you remember the first years up there?
Yeah.
The top player was Zhu Muxiang,
Yeah.
Gao Huiming.
Yeah.
Eventually, we downed them all, and we dominated the North China scene.
Yeah.
for a good many years.
I think that's 34, isn't it? 35?
34, 35.
So you don't know who would beat the other nowadays, do you?
Oh, he'll beat me.
It's not,
would he?
it's not fair, you see, because
don't
he
play
can't
him.
really run now, but he may have to have his knee joint scraped a bit.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
And he tends to do that, yes. And one year, do you remember, we went to Qingdao.
Yeah.
The mayor of Qingdao, Shen Honglian,
Yeah.
gave a party in a restaurant festooned with lanterns. And I got up and sang. The only time I ever sang in public.
Remember what you said?
The Blue Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's right. I should never do that again.
We've come to see the most famous of the 11 children's palaces in Shanghai, where talented youngsters are given special encouragement.
Speak English?
No.
How old are you?
Oh, how old are you? You're 8 years old. Oh. I'm in Fengyang Road Primary School.
Primary school. For how long? One more year?
Tất cả
These children's palaces were first founded by Madame Sun Qingling, who was the wife of the first president of the Chinese Republic, Dr. Sun Yat-sen. And this is where the more talented children are brought to be given special training and encouragement, and quite often brought here by their parents. There's a Chinese proverb which says that in heaven you have paradise, on earth you have Hangzhou and Suzhou. We can see now quite clearly why this is said about Suzhou. Because here everything is mild and easy, and the water here contrasts with central China, which is quite arid. This area south of the Yangtze River is full of greenery and watery lushness. And there isn't that biting north wind blowing in from the Gobi Desert. Life seems much easier than up north. Suzhou, of course, is famous for its gardens, and the Chinese idea of a garden is really a cameo, a painter's concept of a miniature landscape. And here in Suzhou, where the weather is quite clement throughout the year, the retired Mandarin or scholar finds it an ideal place where he can not so much contemplate nature, contemplate man's relationship with nature and with fellow human beings. Because these gardens are built behind high walls, the scholars of China feel that they can find tranquility.
Suzhou's success as a rich, cultured and artistic city owes everything to the existence of the Grand Canal. And Kenneth's daughter Jenny, on her first visit to China, is as fascinated as the rest of us.
Do they live on the boats?
Oh, I think they find as much accommodation on the boat as they are likely to find ashore.
How long is the canal?
Well, it's over 1,200 miles long. Probably
Really?
the longest canal in the world. It was begun before Christ in 486 BC, but it wasn't completed for 1,000 years. 618 AD, in the Sui dynasty, by the Emperor Tiananmen. He used it for moving troops about. It is the longest man-made waterway in the world, and he used 5 million men to complete it. It ran all the way from Hangzhou to Beijing. You see, the economic benefits were astounding. In the Tang dynasty, they transported 100,000 tons of grain a year from the fertile south to the arid, hungry north. The long lines of barges strung together, pulled by single horse or a water buffalo. Even today, a few horsepower engine will drag a long crocodile barges. Compared to English canal, this is like Piccadilly Circus. Look, you see these barges are solid concrete. It's just turned out of mode. You see, today it is not all used. Some is silted up, but still very busy. It takes more traffic than the Suez and Panama canals combined. And everything goes on the canal, even people. That's a passenger barge. It's not very fast, not a QE2, but it's very cheap. Hangzhou to Suzhou takes 14 hours overnight, but it only costs 4 yuan, and that's about 60 pence. Here we find ourselves in one of the biggest fan factories in China, in an old palace, where it's said to produce more than 4 million fans a year. Some of these fans are made of sandalwood, and others are beautifully painted. It's said that the ones which are very intricately, artistically carved can take several years to produce. These sandalwood fans are, of course, very special because there's a very distinct scent from the wood, which when you fan yourself, you feel that you are also perfuming yourself.
After 2.5 weeks in China, this will be the last leg of our journey, and also the longest, taking over 24 hours and covering nearly 1,000 miles from Suzhou to Beijing. In the north of China, steam gives way to diesel, but steam locomotives can still be seen, hauling endless freight trains. It was the coming of the railways that finally unified this vast land.
This is no other river than the Yellow River, often called in the past China's sorrow, because throughout history it burst its bank many times. The last time, 1938, actually washed away and drowned more than 3.5 million people. It's mainly because the river flows through a featureless plain and gradually it silts up until it's above the surrounding country, and that's when it bursts its banks.
From the vast expanse of the North China Plain, we reach the equally vast Tiananmen Square, center of Beijing and of China itself. Although the name Beijing has replaced Peking everywhere, there are two notable exceptions who still refer to Peking opera and to Peking duck. And what better place to sample that than the Peking duck restaurant?
This process differs from London in the sense that they use wood fire, and this wood is mostly fruit wood. In this case, apple. And they start the fire an hour before the roasting in order to heat up the oven, which is like a kiln. And it has to be about 250 degrees before they inserted the duck. And in the case of these ducks, they have been hung for 2 or 3 days, longer than we do in London. And inside the duck, you see the duck here is open, all the entrails in it are taken out from the side, from under the armpit here. And then water is poured in. 你可以灌水，灌一点水，稍微给它看。So this one, it has a stopper put at the bottom here, and then he pours in some boiling water, as you see. The boiling water goes in, and then what is inserted is not just left in there to roast, but each of them is individually brought out now and then to be browned on the side and brought nearer to the heat. You see? The important thing about Peking duck is a crispy skin and the right color. In London, we roast about 1 hour and 10 minutes. But here, only 45 minutes is enough because the heat is greater. At 250 degrees, it's high heat. You see, it's all browned individually.
How many ducks would they cook a day?
Each of these stoves of this dimension will cook 20 ducks at a time, and this oven will be used 3 times, over 60 ducks. Altogether, about 500 or 600 ducks are roasted in a day. 你可以拿一条出来吗？做了哦，挂旁边that one's pretty mature now.
Are we eating our way through the whole duck then?
Yeah, bits and pieces.
Noses and toes.
And finish off with a duck carcass.
Starting with the gizzards and the...
No, this is liver again.
Liver and gizzard.
Well, the gizzard is a ring.
That's gizzard.
The gizzard is this bit. It's the esophagus. Well, that's a ring.
Gizzards. A bit that has all the stones and the muck in it, which you have to cut in half. Take the...
Oh, that chap.
Yeah, the chap.
Gizzard?
I haven't had the gizzard yet, have we?
No.
Only had the liver.
No, there's more than liver there,
Yeah.
Ken. There are 2 things there, Ken. There's liver. I've got liver and there's something else.
I haven't. I just got lizard on mine. Well, I've only got liver on mine, not lizard. Is it gizzard or lizard?
Gizzard.
No, it's gizzard, definitely.
I'm so confused about lizard. I mean, we haven't got any lizard in it.
We haven't had
Gizzard. Not the thing you wash your teeth in every morning.
Get on it. Would you like to chew up the head?
Oh, a head.
You too.
A head.
Where's the head?
The luckiness of one.
Oh, John must have the other half of the head.
A duck head.
The real connoisseurs
Oh,
have
Ken,
it.
what a joy. Thank you very much. A duck head. I'm looking forward to this.
There.
Look at that, the brain beautifully displayed. And a perfect piece of breast to lay alongside it. Doesn't that look absolutely marvellous? Thank you. Look at the duck brain. Have you got your duck brain yet?
Mm-hmm.
Comes out
No, I'm nibbling.
soft and beautiful. No, look, comes out beautifully. Yum, yum. The brain's all soft and moist.
It's a treat. Now, when I had a duck banquet in London, I didn't get the head. You didn't? So I feel honoured.
I'll remember to give you a head next time.
Today, the Peking duck is making way for the Kentucky chicken. This fast food restaurant has been recently opened near Tiananmen Square, which is easily the biggest square in the world. Many a times, crowds of 1 million have stood in this square. And it's surrounded by the principal buildings in the center of Peking, or Beijing, as we call it today. Everything here is built in a vast scale. As one writer once wrote, Peking was built by giants, 4 giants. It was in fact built during the Mongol dynasty by Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan. There are not many pictures of Chairman Mao still hanging up in China, but here's one right in the middle of the Tiananmen Square. Chairman Mao died a few years ago, but he still had many survivors. And I was invited to play a game of tennis by one of his associates, Mr. Wan Li, the Deputy Prime Minister in China, and the survivor of the Long March. They seem to play quite a steady game, but of course, they haven't got a great deal of international experience. So most of the time, I've had to hold my punches. 好，谢谢你。好，谢谢啊。你几个月又进步了？啊，又进步了。哦，这几个月。The Summer Palace is situated about a dozen miles west of the Beijing city. My old university was only about a mile and a half from here, so I used to come here quite often. This is where the Manchu court repair to in the summer, where the Empress Dowager come to take her ease. She expended a lot of money in restoring the place during the latter part of her reign, including this marble boat. In fact, at that time, my grandfather was the Chinese ambassador to UK, and he had ordered 2 battle cruisers from the British yards. He was greatly embarrassed by the Empress because she had diverted the money, breaking the whole naval budget for the year, to rebuilding the palace. I don't know how the whole thing will resolve. But still, one thing great about the Summer Palace is much more permanent than any battle cruisers.
And for us, it's the venue for our last and greatest meal, an imperial banquet in the Listening to Oriel's restaurant.
Phoenix, facing the sun.
How do they get these stripes on the neck?
Well,
so beautiful.
These are secrets unknown to me, you know, like most things are, you know. And that's the name. Or these, I don't know what this dish is.
Chili. It's hot.
Is it
it's
really?
Beef, I think.
Let's have
it's
a taste
good.
of it.
I think there's a chili on it. It's beef. This is
Cucumber.
This is cucumber in something else.
This must be jellyfish again.
No, sweet. There's a sweet.
Let's chop much more finely than we had so far all along. It's better. And that one is a mushroom in the shape of a basket of flowers, you see. And this one is prawns.
Not very.
Marinated prawns. Poached and marinated prawns.
Jellyfish? No. No jellyfish. It's lovely.
And quite often these long banquets are interspersed with these plainer dishes or sweet or dessert-like dishes. These are Empress Dowager's fancy dumplings. It's all done to cater to the fanciful taste of the last Empress Dowager. And I haven't tasted it yet. I'm going to taste this one. I can make this as well.
Quail. 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 Quails, not sparrows. This is a sparrow dressed up as a quail or a quail.
I must get the value back.
The lady said quail as she put it down.
Does it really? Thank you very much. These rabbits of jade. God knows what's
It
inside.
probably has spinach inside.
I know.
If it's a rabbity cake. There's a wonderful fish coming. Look at it.
东门鳝鱼，这是辣的，那个不是辣的。
凤
凤鱼啊，
是
凤鱼啊，这是昆明湖的那个。
昆明湖，这里湖。
昆明湖的。
This fish comes from the local lake, the Palace Lake, and Guma is a presentation fish to the palace table. The way it's cooked is that you use chopped diced pork fat with ginger and garlic, and most of these fish need to be cooked in quite a strong sauce, because in Peking, most of the ponds and lakes are rather muddy in flavor, and you've got to put these fish in clear water for several days, and even then you need to cook it with a strong sauce, and this is very strong Sichuan sauce.
Happy memories back at the old university?
Well, I can only describe my time here as 5 glorious sunlit years. You know, we're living around here, and the dormitories over there were 6 of them. And then you have the design, actually water tower. It looks very...
The pagoda.
Yeah, it's a pagoda, yes. And the teaching buildings are over there, the main hall. As you come in from the front gate, there are a quadrangle there. And it's all very traditionally built and beautifully decorated. I think they're being restored lately. And we skated on these waters in the winter. It freezes over, and it's quite transparent. As you ride a bike or run on skate over it, it unfreezes one day, and I didn't know it was particularly thin. I went full speed on the bicycle and crash, I went straight in. And I had to climb out and to swim in icy water for about 1 full minute before I could get sufficiently firm ice to get on top.
What's the stone boat over there?
Oh, it used to be a prince's garden, but in our student days, used as a hot dog stand, and with hot coffee served in the winter. The evening skating was particularly attractive because in Peking, in the winter, it's full moon or starry skies, and you pick your own girlfriend and skate around holding her hands. It was a great time. I had a hot dog and hot drink, yeah.
Plenty of girlfriends in those days?
Oh, no, not plenty. It's only 2 to 1, 2 men to 1 girl student.
Oh, very competitive.
Yeah, it's a hard time. But I don't know what the proportion are, but the number of students increased, not 10-fold, but 25-fold. We were under 1,000 at that time. Now, it's about something 25,000. As we travel through China, the one thing we noticed more than anything else is a flood of humanity. No wonder the government had adopted the policy of just 1 couple, 1 child. We see it being recommended and advertised throughout China. Without the policy, there will be the continuation of the population explosion, which will consume almost everything China could possibly produce. Of course, every Chinese today enjoy better opportunity than ever did in the past. So unless there's a U-turn towards the Cultural Revolution and all that type of absurdities, then the youngster today has quite a bright future to look forward to.